Is anyone here? What did you find?
You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.
Good afternoon, Roy. Thank you for joining us today.
Joe, good to be with you.
Likewise. It's been a while since we've caught up. It's been about 6 months, hey?
How about that? I can't remember, to be honest with you, but it's been a while. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. And you know what? I remember when we first had a chat, you had told me a really interesting story. So I'm kind of here today to kind of ask you if you would please let us know a little bit about yourself. And yeah, there's this kind of really interesting story that you told me about that actually happened to your son, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, okay. All right, so my name is Roy. I live in Ubud, which is the cultural and spiritual heart of Bali. And been married. I'm married to a local girl who I married 22 years ago. We have three sons. I was renting a small villa. This is my wife's hometown, which is called Bunatan Kediwatan, which is right along the Ayun River, which is the sacred river which flows from a sacred mountain, which is a volcano called Agun, which is a little north and east of here, all the way down through central Bali to the south, out to the ocean. And it's known for very good whitewater rafting, so it's a popular tourist spot. And it's got awesome views. So the property is very popular for resort hotels. And this hotel was being built at the time, shortly after I married and we started having children. And it opened in 2004. So it's going on almost 20 years ago when it first opened. So this is back when my firstborn son, Bima, was about 3. And where we were building our new permanent villa was just a walking distance to the Royal Pitamaha during the construction period from our old house. So, every once in a while, just to check on things and how things were going, we'd take a walk down there because it's a beautiful view, and why not, So a little exercise never hurt me. So we decided one day, it's out of the blue, Bima and I and a girl that worked for us at the time, you call them Pabantus, they can help with the housework and all that kind of thing. Decided, okay, let's walk down and see what's going on. So off we go, trek on down the road. So when you walk in, there's a reception desk on the right, and you can look down, and you can see that you're looking right outdoors through other doors at the end. Yeah. There were workmen everywhere. They were working that day on the floors doing tiling with whatever marble or granite, whatever they used. And we walked in. You walk in, this is a giant room where the wall on this side is a wall on this side that you kind of walk through as you go through the doorway. So we walked through. This is doorway on the right, and Beam is right next to me. We're walking through, and I'm just not paying attention to Beam. I want to make a beeline towards the view because it's just so nice to hang out and look at. As you see the river and you can hear the river, and it's just incredible. So anyway, as I start to make my way towards the railing, I kind of lost track of where Bima was, and I turn around to look for him. Bima, where are you? And he had turned himself around as he walked into the door and was standing in front of a blank wall. And he started talking to this wall in a language which is not indigenous to anything here in Indonesia. It wasn't a local language like Balinese or Javanese or Sudanese or anything else. It was, and the workmen who were working the floor, not too far from him, heard this talk going on from Bima. And they just looked up like, what the heck language is that? Now, if they can't recognize it and they don't know what it is, for sure, I'm right in my suspicion. Nobody knows what this language is. And while I couldn't hear whatever the wall was saying back, Bima could. because he had a conversation, which went on for quite a while. And it included a lot of laughing and nothing, that he felt afraid of or anything. If anything, it did seem like he was a little bit in a trance, like he was unaware. I didn't try to interrupt him, but although I did a little bit because I put my hand on his shoulder. I says, "Beam, what's going on?" And it was basically like I wasn't there. Okay, it was, for him, it was like totally ignoring it. And something crossed my mind, like, just leave this alone, Roy. Just let it, whatever it's going to be, let it be, And then the guys on the floor who work in the tiles and whatnot, they got frightened and they ran out. And there are other people who were working in the room who started to witness what was going on. And they got frightened and they ran out. And so did my girl who was working for us. She just made a beeline for home. Something was going on that they knew more about it than I did, or at least they sensed something I didn't sense. I had no sense of foreboding or danger. And it went on. I think Bima was probably talking to this wall for maybe 10 or so minutes. And then he just stopped and he turned around and was like, "Hi, Dad, what's going on?" I go, "Well, that's my question for you. What was that all about?" What was what all about? I mean, he was time zone gone, totally gone. So I was like, "Okay, well, let's look at the view and let's go home." So, we looked at the view and we walked home. And I kept asking him, you don't remember talking to the wall? You were talking to the wall, Bima. And he just looked at me like, "How often are you going to tell me this story? Nothing happened, nothing at all." So anyway, long story short on what was probably happening is that the area where this hotel was built, again, it's alongside this holy river, is what we call in Bali the land of the Niskala, okay? In Bali, there are two realities. Sakala, which is the seen, and Niskala, the unseen. And what I found out was before they even started construction there, it was known that there was a huge village on the site where they were going to build this hotel. And it was a village of Niskala, unseen, okay? And a few people, usually we call them Balians, they're like holy men, they have certain gifts, and paranormal connections are one of them. Those people have a knack to be able to connect with Niskala as well as the Sakala, what they can see. And what had gone on at the Royal Pita Maha site well before they started, drilling pylons to hold things up and all that, was multiple ceremonies to negotiate with the village heads of the unseen village heads. Hey, we want to build a hotel here. We respect the holiness of the ground and the spirituality of it. We want your permission because we're not going to do it if you say no. But, we'd like to do whatever you need us to do to help you move your village, down the road or wherever you want to go, And so they did this, they did all the ceremonies. They were told what to do, offerings of this and that. Now, at about the same time, it started happening in our village that children would disappear during the day for hours. These kids were coming back late at night, sometimes not until the next day, looking exactly like they left. Their clothes just as fresh. They weren't dirty. So, it was just like there was a time lapse, like a time warp. They disappeared, but they weren't on the same time zone or in the time continuum when wherever it is they went for 6, 7, 8, 9 hours and came back. And again, no memories. Okay, where you been all day? What do you mean? I just left. This experience was only happening to kids. Nothing like this was happening to any adults.
Right.
So whatever the intervention or discourse that the people of Niskala from that village wanted to have with our Sakala in our village, the scene, was with the children. And then that stopped. As the hotel neared completion, that phenomenon just stopped. And it never occurred again.
There's the concept of, the liaks in Bali, the concept of spirits, right? Have you or anyone around you had an experience with a spirit, seen an apparition, seen a ghost?
Yeah, I heard lots of stories from Balinese about running into what they call them leaks. Okay,
Liaks.
leak. That's the Balinese word for ghosts, and usually it's a frightening experience, considered to be a spirit which has not been properly purified, maybe not even cremated. So no way for it to transition to its next life. It's kind of stuck here, that kind of thing. But they were somewhat fearful. And the way they appear, you can hear all kinds of different stories, like just very bright lights in a sort of form of a human, appearing like, there's a monster god here, or god monster, called Kala, which is, if you look that up on the internet too, Kala, images of him, like monster type of thing. He's used a lot as over temple doors or over house doors, as a protection from evil coming in. And there's a lot of that. I mean, that's why Balinese put out offerings every day. I mean, it's all to protect from, the dark side. Because and that's anything ground and under. And even in bedrooms where Balinese sleep, the bed is acclimated towards Gunung Agung, the mountain. You sleep with your head towards the mountain, okay? Not your feet, okay? Just the opposite, And when you build a place you're going to live, you got to have a high priest in who does kind of like the Balinese equivalent of feng shui. I mean, you think, we're going to put the kitchen there and this there, and then the high priest walks in and goes, and he lays out with string and nails on the ground. This is exactly where you're going to put stuff. This is where this room's going to be. This and that. All
very prescribed. Yeah.
Yeah, and a position towards the holy temple of Basaki and the sacred mountain of Agung, which everything evolves around here. When you walk into a Balinese compound, which are, the doors are open all day long, the first thing you notice is a wall. But it's not a wall connected to anything. It's just like a standing slab, And that's to keep evil spirits that are entering your compound from being able to come in. Because they get confused. They don't turn right or left. They just bounce off this wall and back out.
Yeah, I've actually heard this story in Bali, and apparently the spirits can only go in like a straight line. They can't turn.
There you go.
Right.
And that's why that wall is there, People think, why is everybody's compound surrounded these walls? Well, it's not to keep people out, I think. It's to keep the evil spirits out.
What did you find? You are listening to Supernatural Confessions.